RMJ Movie Reviews back again with a brand new camera. I mean, got a brand new camera, brand new phone. Whoo, smoking. Well, this is a special viewer request review. Surviving the Game, starring Mr. Ice-T himself and Mr. Rutgar Hauer. And, well, actually, they have Gary Busey on the cover, but, directed by Ernest Dickerson from 1994. Charles S. Dutton, John C. McGinley, F. Murray Abraham, and William McNamara. Oh, boy. Surviving the Game is actually a film, like I always do on my channel. I always talk about these movies and my childhood and blah, 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 blah. This movie was actually released when I was in the 6th grade, 12 years old, I remember. And I can still remember when the movie came out, Charles S. Dutton actually went on the Arsenio Hall show to promote the film. And I remember I wanted to see this film when it came out. So eventually, this was one of the few movies that I had actually seen in a movie theater by myself at the time because I was so much of a movie buff. My dad was just like not interested. He was just like, here goes I think it was actually $4 at the time. It was either $3.75 or $4 at the time. This is 1994. Dropped me off at the theater, was like, hey, go see it. I don't want no part of it. And so either way, I went to go see Surviving the Game in the movie theater. And I remember at the time when I saw it, I thought it was okay. I thought it was okay. I thought the movie started out really strong, and I kind of felt about halfway in the middle point, around the point when John C. McGinley gets kidnapped by Ice-T. I kind of felt the movie kind of started to fall apart, and it seemed like it kind of rushed towards the end. In rewatching the movie again, and I haven't seen it in a really long time, I actually bought this copy that I have here from the Game Exchange. I mean, it didn't cost me nothing, but I think I got like a special where it's like half off. So it was something like $3 or something, like $3.50 or something like that. But upon rewatching it again years later, I think it's a very enjoyable B action movie. One of the most enjoyable things about this film is the fact that, number one, it's directed by Ernest Dickerson, who directed Tales from the Crypts, Demon Knight, who directed the classic Juice, starring Tupac Shakur and Omar Epps from 1992. And I think this was right after Juice. Right, that's right. Juice was 1992. This was 1994. So, this was fresh off Juice. He's a fantastic director. He's a really good director. I know, guys, I always say fantastic. But yeah, it was. He's a really good director. And what I love here is how what you basically got is threadbare material, B-movie action stuff. But you got a powerhouse character actor cast here. You got Rutgar Hauer, Charles S. Dutton, Gary Busey, F. Murray Abraham, and John C. McGinley. Those are your villains. These guys are all villains in one movie. Whoever thought of putting these dudes together ought to get an A+, because that was brilliant casting. And then to have the complete opposite of a tough guy rapper like Ice-T, who's in gangster rap and all that kind of stuff. And Ice-T really plays the kind of down on his luck, just doesn't care. He's just kind of just pushing through life. He kind of wants to die. He's not feeling it. He's just lost his dog. He just lost his best friend. He really plays it very well. And I think that's one of the things that Ice-T brings to the role, is that he plays it very real, just like a real cat right off the streets. I imagine that's probably why they chose him for the role, because Ice-T really is from the streets in real life. He lived that life. And what I love is how, at this time, Charles Dutton had he had been doing other movies like the Sid and the Mets, and he had done Crocodile Dundee 2. But really the biggest thing he had done previous to this was Alien 3. And regardless of how people feel about Alien 3, his performance in that film, next to Sigourney Weaver and Charles Dance and a lot of the other actors, was extraordinary in that film. And what I love here is how Charles S. Dutton does the switch, and so does Rutgar Hauer, because Charles S. Dutton had just come off the TV show Rock at the time. So he was really kind of playing the do-gooder. You know, I'm here to protect my brother. You got to get off the streets. You got to get your lives together. Oh, come on, homeless people. Come on. Don't you care about your life? And he's doing all this kind of stuff. And the reality is this guy is pure sociopath. You know, and what I love too is how Charles S. Dutton is really the only character who does a complete switch. Rutger Hauer, on the other hand, is basically doing a combination of Blade Runner and The Hitcher. He's kind of really doing a little bit more Blade Runner in the movie towards the second and third act, but kind of in the beginning parts of the movie, he's kind of mixing in a little bit of The Hitcher in there. You can kind of see strands of that movie in there. And Rutger Hauer is the king of playing psychos, and so is Gary Busey. I mean, you know, when you watch this movie, you automatically just know Ice-T is, well, you think he's going to be an automatic dead man, because if I had seen all these cats coming when I got off the plane, I would want to get right back on the airplane when I saw them. These are scary guys, and especially, I mean, Rutger Hauer is frightening enough, but when you see Gary Busey, and of course we all know from this movie, when Gary Busey gives the monologue about his scar and why he calls it his, I think he says his birthmark. Yeah, I think he calls it his birthmark, or the day he became a man. That monologue is absolutely extraordinary. Gary Busey delivers it with all teeth, all complete unhinged, pure psychopathic anger. I mean, he's extraordinary. I mean, he leaps off the screen with that dialogue, and what I love is how the camera just watches him and it just goes in, and you see Gary Busey start sticking those teeth out, and he's doing all that, he's doing all this stuff, and he's got this crazed look in his eyes, terrifying. That monologue is just classic. And you got John C. McGinley, who's just like playing it in a different, he's playing crazy in a different way. He's playing like broken, heartbroken, I've lost my mind type of crazy. So he's just like all over the place and kind of Nicolas Cage, kind of manicky. F. Murray Abraham is kind of doing Salieri from Amadeus, very controlled. You know what I mean? Very, very controlled, and just kind of like, son, I want to bring you out here and show you a little bit about this world, you know. And William McNamara here. This is when William McNamara was kind of in his pretty boy young phase. I think this was 2 years before he did Copycat, so he was still innocent in this movie. You know, after he did Copycat, I think he had done a string of other kind of low budget, straight to HBO kind of slasher pictures. I think there was like one movie where he like raped some dude in the bathtub. I can't remember. Some movie. Leslie Ann Warren was in the movie. It was like from 1999 or something. But either way, that's the funnest part of this movie to me, is the setup. When you know Charles is, because even at the time when the movie came out, you knew Charles Dutton was a bad guy. It was all over the advertisements and stuff. But that's the funnest part, is the setup. And when you hear Rutger Hauer is just milking this for all it's worth. As he's like, well, you know, when you come out to this job, it requires stamina. And you know how Rutger Hauer just delivers that thing where he does that thing with his mouth where he goes, stamina. And he kind of goes like that, and he does like that sleepy look with his eyes, but you know underneath, this dude is going to kill you. You know, he's great. And when they're just all sitting there at the table, and I just love how Charles Dutton is just sipping on his wine, and he just goes like, hey, you know, you don't want to drink too much wine because you don't want to be slow tomorrow. You know, and that's basically, and they're talking about this pig that they have on the table. You know, Gary Busey turns the head to mess with Ice-T a little bit, and I love how they're talking about Ice-T and how they profiled him as their next victim for hunting. And they're passing it off to Ice-T as if they're talking about the pig that they're eating on the table. But no. They're talking about him in front of him, and he doesn't know it. Chilling stuff. That dinner scene with all of them is hands down the best stuff in the entire movie. When all those guys are together and they're going after Ice-T, that's great stuff. Kind of where the movie falls apart a little bit is once they all start dying off quickly. And I remember at the time when I saw Ice-T promoting it, he said this was a low-budget movie, and Ernest Dickerson did too. So you can kind of tell that it was probably like actors were unavailable, so they kind of had to just start killing people off quickly. So that kind of the action stuff in the movie is okay, but it's really more the character stuff. And another scene aside from the dinner scene, which is fantastic, I really love it, and people know what I'm talking about. Is the scene where John C. McGinley kind of admits to why he's become like this hunter of man, this killer of man. And basically, John C. McGinley says that his daughter was murdered by, they suspect, some homeless person or some vagrant of their other, and they never caught the guy. So this dude is basically venting his pain on these homeless people that they capture and they hunt and they kill. You know, very well done scene. And that's one of the things that I love about this movie is how all the actors bring different dimensions to the characters. That's really interesting. I mean, I guess you could argue that Rutgar Hauer and Gary Busey are kind of playing it a little bit more straightforward, and Charles Dutton towards the middle of the movie kind of comes straight arrow bad guy. But previous to that, they're all playing it very layered, and I really love that scene between John C. McGinley and Ice-T in the cave. That's just a really good scene because John C. McGinley just is wrenching in that scene, and the way Ice-T plays back like, hey, look, man, I'm just living my life, man. You can't blame that on me. You know, really good stuff there. But you know, the action stuff is okay. What I do like though is that Ice-T's character shows that it's kind of gets a little bit first bloody, but it shows that he's using his mind as he's trying to outwit these guys, because these guys got the guns, they got the trucks and all of that, but he's using his head to kind of outwit them. So I thought that was kind of cool in the movie. I also really like the score. I think the score is, there's one piece of music that I really like is when it's a really slow piece of music. It goes and that's why like they're walking through the woods. That's a really good piece of music. It's really creepy. And I think the music on the scene where John C. McGinley makes a confession as to why he's this killer is really good too. The relationship with William McNamara and F. Murray Abraham as his dad, which is already creepy enough that Salieri is his dad, that's a really cool dynamic. And ultimately, I also like too that nobody is spared in this movie. I mean, William McNamara, I'm not, spoiler, William McNamara dies too, and he's not even really a guilty party, but you know, he was there, you know, so it's really cool stuff. And Rutger Hauer is just having all these guys are having the absolute time of their life. And Rutger Hauer is doing a lot of, he kind of turns Blade Runner at the end with the, you know, putting the paint on his face, and he's kind of looking around. And there's a tip of the hat to Blade Runner, I think twice, where you see the kind of the flash in his eyes. So there is I think Ernest Dickerson was giving the tip of the hat to Blade Runner in the film. But Surviving the Game it's a really fun movie, and I actually really enjoy it more now. What is that? I don't know what it is. 23 years. Well, I have 20-something years. I can't believe it's been 20-something years since that movie came out. But I really do enjoy the movie a lot more 20 plus years later, rewatching it again. Like I said, the only place where it falters is kind of once people start dying, it kind of gets a little bit less interesting, but still fun. And, you know, Rutger Hauer, you know, I'm guessing at the time Rutger Hauer might have been in his early 50s, maybe mid 50s. You know, there's like scenes where he's trying to do like karate kicks and stuff, and it's just kind of like, dude, no. I mean, if he would have just stuck straight to like hitting people with 2x4s and weapons or shooting or knifing, stabbing, I would have said okay. But the scenes where Rutger Hauer is trying to do like karate kicks, it's just like, you see my man is struggling. He's just like, to get his leg up. It's like, just stop, dude. But regardless, the man is still terrifying no matter how hefty he had gotten in this film. And I mean, I wouldn't trust any one of them guys. Probably the only guy I would have trusted at the table would have been William McNamara. But, you know, when you got all these other psychopaths, it's just fantastic stuff. So you should watch Surviving the Game just alone off of these great character actors having the time of their life. I imagine they probably only made this movie just because, number one, it was probably a good paycheck, But, you know, they did this movie for fun. All of them. And they probably all wanted to work together. And they were like, you know what? Hey, this is the best script we can find with all of us together. Let's have a ball. You know, I was also disappointed, too, that Gary Busey got kind of killed early. But, you know, whatever. Maybe he flipped out and they just decided to kill his character off early. But, that's my review of Surviving the Game. Special viewer request for Thursday night action on RMJ Movie Reviews. I really enjoy the film. It's really fun. Watch it for the crazed, goofy performances and some cheeseball mid-90s action. You know what I mean? So, thumbs up the video and subscribe to the channel and share the video and leave comments down below about Surviving the Game from 1994. I'm going to be back on Saturday night with a review of, it was supposed to come before, but I kind of did them out of order, so forgive me, guys. Revenge of the Nerds from 1984. Starring Mr. E.R. Goose Anthony Edwards himself and Robert Louis Carradine. And Lamar and Poindexter and all those other guys. Oh, and Mr. John Goodman himself. RMJ Movie Review, folks. I'll see you all soon.